Hi guys, good to see everybody starting to pop in. I'm just checking on the chat room to see if everybody's here. So for those of you who have never used this system before, first of all, let me know if you either cannot see or cannot hear me, or both. I have an assistant in the chat room and he's here for you guys. So what I want you to do, if you have a quick look at my screen here, I want to show you what chat room I'm in so that you can be in the same chat room. So if you go ahead and have a look at your Google Hangouts here, you'll see that there's a Webinar Jam lightning bolt thing. It might say chat for you. If you click it, you will get a chat box here. This is the chat room that I'm in. This is the chat room that Richie and Rachel are in. And it's also where my lovely assistant, who is going to help you with your technical issues, is sitting, waiting to basically like run around in circles for you guys. So if you want to add your chat in here, just type in the bottom. You can choose if you want to message everyone, etc. So go ahead and get in the same chat room as us and let me know if you can see or hear me, or neither, or both, and we'll see where you guys are at. So, okay. All right, so I am pretty universally seeing that you guys are seeing and hearing me. Good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so people always ask me as an Etsy shop owner, why would I want you to create yet another Etsy shop? Isn't the market already insanely saturated? Am I completely crazy? So I promise you I am so not crazy. And here's why. There is room for all of us. I know it can feel like a super crowded market, but guess what? There is totally enough business to go around, I promise you. Even if there are shops with products similar to yours, don't freak out. If every idea had to be 100% truly original, then no one would ever make any money. So I want everyone who is creative, ambitious, and passionate enough to start an Etsy shop to be able to get the strategies that they need to create success. So everyone deserves to live the fulfilled creative life of their dreams, like no bullshit. Like, I just want to give you guys an idea of how very awesome it is to be a full-time seller. For those of you who aren't already, I've invited my good friend Rachel. You may have heard of her. She's a bit of a rising star right now. Her shop is Paperberry Press, and she's here today to talk to you guys about how awesome it is to live life as a full-time seller. For those of you who stick around, Rachel has an awesome free bonus that she's giving away today with this webinar. And because she is the go-to Etsy branding expert, she's created a free guide and she's going to talk to you about all that good stuff right now.
Hi guys, I am so glad to be here today. And Jenny, thank you so much for inviting me. As she said, my name is Rachel Thompson and I am the owner of Paperberry Press on Etsy. I cannot wait to tell you my Etsy journey story. So let's just dive right in, right? So my Etsy journey started back in January of 2013. At the time, I was a teacher, full-time teacher, and I also had a 7-month-old. And my husband and I were just doing great, but there was a part of me and my soul that was not being fed. I've always been a crafty person. I mean, even as a kid, my mom would walk in my room and there'd just be chaos everywhere, and I'd be cutting out little pieces of paper, creating this masterpiece, I so thought, of artwork. And so it was always a part of me, but I wasn't really feeling that part of me. So I knew I needed that self-care for myself, and the Etsy shop was the perfect solution for that back in January 2013. It definitely started out just as a hobby. I was not thinking about it being like this actual like money stream for my family. It just was fueling my soul. So fast forward to 9 months later, and I was basically in the slump of being pretty depressed because I had just spent this whole summer with my son because as you know, teachers get the summers off. So I've spent all summer with my son and also creating products for Etsy, and I loved it. It was so good and it felt so good. And now I had to go back to my full-time job, and I loved my job. I absolutely loved teaching fourth grade math and science. It was fabulous, but I loved staying home with my babies and getting to really fuel that creative side of me. It was so great. So I knew somehow, I didn't know what it looked like in the future, but I knew somehow I did want to do that in the future. I just didn't know what it looked like at the time. So at about that same time, my husband and I were trying for a second baby, and I get pregnant. So I definitely know, I'm like, I don't know what this looks like, but I know I want to stay at home with my kids. And so my husband and I made that happen. When the baby was born, of course, I was still running my Etsy shop, and I got to stay at home. I did have to close my shop down for a while. I mean, with a newborn, it only made sense to put my shop on hold for a few months. But the moment that I could, a few months later, I think it was 3 or 4 months, I reopened my shop. And again, that part of me just felt so good that I got to make and create these things. So fast forward a year, and now my daughter, so the youngest at the time with my 2 kids, is now a year old. And something happens. I find out I'm pregnant again. And my husband and I were not planning this baby. We were shocked and we were excited. And I was already staying at home. And so financially speaking, we were on one income. We were going to have 5 mouths to feed now. And I knew that I needed to monetize this thing. I knew that somehow I needed to start taking my little hobby business seriously, and I needed to start really diving into what that looked like. Because at the time, I had just made, sales here and there trickling in, but it was by no means could replace my teacher salary. So August of last year, I did just that. I took my business seriously, and I created what you see now on Etsy. I have made thousands of sales on and off Etsy. Paperberry press products are currently being carried in over 30 brick and mortar stores around the US and Canada. And it has been a fabulous ride. But besides monetizing my business, the best part is I get to stay at home with my kids, y'all, and I get to cuddle with them. I literally wake up in the morning and I throw on some yoga pants and I just snuggle with my babies. And it is by far the best feeling because I am a stay-at-home mompreneur. I hate saying I'm a work-at-home mom. I call myself a maker mompreneur. I get to make and create and live out my business side of that aspect too of Etsy, but I get to do it while being a mom. It fits into my schedule perfectly. Here's the kicker though. I had to do a ton of research. I mean, I was scouring the internet for stuff to try to figure out how people were monetizing their shops. Like, how did people really create real avenues, like monetary avenue streams for their shop? I had no idea. And so ironically, Jenny and I had connected a while back because we both are kind of in the same realm of our craft. And so she kind of reached out to me and kind of wanted me to beta test her course she created. And I said, absolutely sure. She said she just wanted to have somebody that had been successful on Etsy see if what she had created was spot on. So I took it, and I just remember contacting her and going, oh my gosh, where were you last year for me? This would have saved me so much time because it was not the fluff that you find online. It was not just these big, here's what you need to do. It was the actual resources and tools you need to use and how to use them to monetize your business. It was awesome. Well, as y'all know, I was a teacher and I really wasn't feeding that part of my soul as well. And so at about the same time, I was creating a course too. I went a totally different route than Jenny. I was focusing primarily on branding because as a self-taught graphic designer, I knew that branding was a big part of my success. And so I created this course called Brand Your Biz to Etsy Success. And it's really all about just helping you create a visual brand that's going to help like connect with your target audience and monetize your Etsy shop. And I created it for two reasons simply. One is that when you're first getting started, you don't have a lot of money to spend on your branding. You can either throw some hodgepodge thing together. You can either pay a designer a whole bunch of money to create a custom design, or you can just get this cookie cutter like template basically that multiple shops have that don't really fit what you envision in your mind for your brand and plop it on there. And if that's your route, great. But for me, that wasn't what I wanted. The other thing is I realized that a lot of people did not have design experience. They knew what they wanted, but they didn't know how to create it. And so I created a course. It's a DIY step-by-step system of my design process in a way that is so user-friendly. So about the same time, Jenny and I are creating these courses together. And when I saw what she created and I thought about my course, I thought, oh my gosh, like I said, Jenny, your course and my course were like made for each other. Like if we could give this to people, if we could provide this to people when they take their business seriously and want to monetize it, this is like the keys to the kingdom. Like this, I wish we had this when we got started. Like this would have saved us so much time. And so the funniest thing I think I told her, this kind of side note, is I was like, Jenny, this would be like if my course was on Match.com and it would be matched with your course, or you know, it would. If my course saw your course online, it would Tinder swipe left. Like, you know, it's just, guys, it is so, these courses were made for each other to be paired. And so when she told me about really launching her course, I said, you know what? Somehow my course has to be connected to yours. And so I'm going to give you this little hint. You do not want to leave this webinar right now because I promise you, you do not want to leave. Keep staying because there is something in store for you, okay? Like, I know I'm building up some, like, anticipation, but it's worth it. Like, you do not want to leave because in just a moment, you're going to realize that there is so much value. If you are in this webinar right now live, you are about to be rewarded heavily. So stick around. Now, before I leave, I do want to kind of jump into branding because I see a lot of misconceptions about branding. And so before I leave, I just want to explain what branding is because there are a lot of different misconceptions out there. And so let me switch my screen. I've created a few slides, and these actually come from lesson 1 of module 1 of my course, but it really does describe what branding is. And so stick around. Let me see if I can switch my screen. Hold on one sec. Okay, I think I found it. I hope y'all can see this. So what does branding look like? Because this is probably the biggest misconception I always hear. A lot of people just think branding is your visuals, your graphic design, like your logo and things. And yes, that is a part of it. But let's really define what it does here. So I have this scenario here, and the next few slides are gonna be a scenario, and they're all gonna be related around this same one. You basically have a guy, he's approaching a female, and he's saying, I'm single, wanna go on a date. Okay, and so as we go through each scenario, we're going to talk about and define in business terms what this guy is doing. So this example is I'm single, want to go on a date. We refer to this as marketing. So marketing is any time you actually talk about your business. Same scenario, now we're on the phone. This is called telemarketing. So you get the picture, right? It's when you talk about your business, being that you're doing on the phone. Okay, this time there's a computer screen and the guy says, check out my newest blog post, 5 reasons you should go on a date with me. It's called content marketing. This is my favorite one, guys. I'm single. Want to go on a date? Sounds pretty desperate, right? That's called direct marketing. I think we've all met that person too before. I think we all know somebody in our life that is like that too, right? New scenario. Now the girl is talking to another female, and she says, he's a great guy, and he's single too. You should go on a date with him. That's called public relations. Okay, this time we're using symbols here. We have this heart with an arrow through it, and we have some silverware. And that's called graphic design. And again, this is the biggest misconception I get, is that people use the term branding with graphic design. Graphic design is used in branding, but they think that those two words mean the same thing. Now, here is the meat and potatoes of what I'm about to show you. Now the girl's approaching the guy. This is the whole point. And she says, I understand you're a great guy and single. Want to go on a date sometime. And that's branding. So branding isn't what you say about your business. It's what others are saying about your business. So let me switch screens one more time. Okay, so again, I cannot stress how much you need to stick around. And thank you guys for letting me tell my story. Again, Etsy is a great platform, and I'll be around for the Q&A later too. So thanks again, Jenny. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, and to really, Jenny and I both are here to really just make it easier for people than our story. We want to make it an easier road and an easier path to success than we had. We found success, and no matter what that success looks like for you, we want you to be able to get there, and on a quicker, let's say, trajectory than we had. So thank you again, and I will see y'all in the Q&A.
Okay, so thank you so much to Rachel for all of that. That was amazing. She's awesome. So I hope you guys think that is just as amazing as I do. I'm super excited that she's here with us today. Before we move on to how you can turn your shop into job quitting material, I just want to give you guys an idea of what my life is like as a full-time seller. So before I started selling on Etsy, I was working a horrible job with a boss from hell. I'm talking like the sort of job where you get yelled at for going to your grandmother's funeral. Like, it was a bad job. Around that time, I realized that I had no control over my career. I was going wherever they would pay me, just trying to pay bills and like make ends meet or whatever. And none of that had anything to do with what I wanted out of my career and my life. So a lot of people tell me that this is the same situation that they've been stuck in for years, and that wasn't good enough for me, and it shouldn't be good enough for you. So I created an Etsy shop, and long story short, 9 months later, I walked out of that horrible job and I never looked back. Now I wake up when I want. I spend about half the day fulfilling orders and working with customers who are excited about what I create for them. So I just want to emphasize this for a minute because it's amazing. I work until noon. Like, I make more than a corporate salary working half the time from home when I want to. So I can't believe I wasted so much time in crappy jobs working my butt off for like a third of what I make now. And once I'm done working until noon, I spend the rest of the day blogging, creating new products, or sometimes just hanging out. Like, I've been known to have an afternoon drink with friends or Netflix the day away if I really need that time. So this means I can change my schedule, take vacation at a moment's notice. And for the first time since I was a little kid, I feel completely free. I don't have to ask for time off. I don't have to report to anyone. No one runs my life. I'm definitely not bored with my job too, which is amazing because I have never been able to say that in my life. So I really hope that that inspires you guys and makes you want to create the awesome shop that I know every single one of you can make. And I also want to say, like, guys, let's be real. If I can do this, you can totally do it. I'm just a random girl who had an idea a couple years ago. And in a minute, I'm going to share with you guys exactly how I did it and how you can turn your Etsy shop into job quitting material. But first, when you signed up for this webinar, I promised to talk to you guys about the one tool that you can use to transform your shop basically overnight. Like, I am obsessed with this tool. You need to have it in your life. And here to talk to you about it is Richie, who co-invented Marmalade, which is like the Etsy SEO, like, gift from above. So Richie, tell us a bit about Marmalade and what it can do for everyone here.
Hey, well, it's Richie from Marmalade, and spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you about the one thing you can do right now today to grow your business, and that thing is use Marmalade. So I'm going to walk you through some of the different problems and solutions that Marmalade has to offer for your shop. And just to get started, let me tell you, it's not uncommon for us to talk to shops that have doubled, quadrupled, or even grew their business 7 times larger with Marmalade. Now, these are life-changing numbers. And you can listen to more of these stories on our podcast, Etsy Jam. So if you want to check that out, you can just look in your podcast app or whatnot, Etsy Jam, or even on our blog, marmalade.com/blog. So you can check that out, but that's not what I'm here to tell you about today. What I'm here to tell you is that before Marmalade, you were flooded with information. Lots of information, a lot of it was kind of useless and you didn't really know what to do with it. And that's okay, because we've improved upon that. With Marmalade, you're able to make good choices in the direction of your shop, and you can be confident that we're only going to give you numbers and things that actually matter. This is what we do. The Marmalade team, this is what we do. We help shops all the time. We talk to them, we help them understand, we look at the data, we crunch the numbers, and we build that into the product. That's what we do, and that's what we care about. So again, only the stuff you need. With that being said, I want to explain a couple different things about Marmalade and how we can help you out. So the first thing is, we're talking about Etsy SEO. And what you need to know about that is that the right keywords will make you money, right? And that's what you want, because you want to stay in business. And the wrong keywords, though, they're going to leave you wondering what's going on, right? I built it, I built the website, I set up my shop. Why aren't people showing up to my shop to buy my listings? Well, it's because you don't have the right keywords, typically. This is a sales funnel. And I'll explain real quickly what the sales funnel is. Basically, people are going to come in the top, and these people are interested in buying stuff. So they're going to come to Etsy.com, and they're going to type stuff in search. They're doing searches. But this is where it's really important. It's not the matter of that they're doing searches, it's what they're viewing, okay? So people come to search and then they start viewing stuff because they do a search and they say, oh, okay, yeah, like I like what I'm seeing on this page. These listings look like what I had in mind. So then they start viewing things. Well, hopefully your listing is the one that's standing out. So they view it. And then hopefully they read about it and look at your pictures and maybe learn a little bit more about you and they say, wow, I love this. This is fantastic. I'm going to favorite it. Okay, so they favorite it so they can come back later and they can buy it and then you're happy and they're happy. So how does Marmalade help you with this? Well, Marmalade helps you with this because we have this great feature called the Marmometer, where we do a lot of the math and heavy lifting in the background and basically give you a traffic light score. So we have green, that's good. We measure on 3 different metrics. And we're going to measure them as green for good, orange for moderate, and red for it's not so good, you should probably move on for this one. Number 1 is engagement. Now, engagement is a measure of, are people not searching, but actually viewing and favoriting the listings, right? So you put in a keyword, are they being viewed and favorited? Because it doesn't help you any if they just do a search and then they bounce off the page. Because they say, oh no, that's not what I had in mind. How many times have you searched for something and you're like, really, that's what that means? Right? It's not helpful. You don't need to rank for that. So engagement. And second is competition. It's really important to make sure that you can actually, pick a keyword that you can show up for. Because if you're going to show up on page 50, no one's going to find you, right? You need to show up on the first few pages. So if you have millions of listings to compete with, well, that's a ton of competition. That's going to be really hard to figure out what tweaks you need to do in your listing to show up and beat millions. The category page. So this is one we get a lot of questions about. What is the category page? Well, a great example of a category page is if you go to Etsy.com and go search for silver, you'll see it. It's a very broad keyword, and Etsy basically doesn't know what your intention is. So as a shopper, and they want to know that they're showing you what you want so that you stay on their website and actually buy something. So what they do, their solution to this, is they show you some big boxes. So I've used 4. But basically, the top of the page, when you do the search, is going to be covered by this, and you have to scroll down to actually see the real listings that are ranked for silver. Because, for the most part, most shoppers, let's say 90% of them, are going to say, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to start going down one of these paths. Instead, I'm going to go necklaces or earrings or rings or bracelets. All silver, but when I click that, I'm going to get a whole different keyword that the people on the next click are ranking for. So if you're trying to rank for silver, it's kind of a waste because the people, the shoppers who are searching for it, they're not seeing the listings down here. They're going down one of these. So that's important too. Well, the next thing that's important is that all listings are not created equal, okay? So you want to look at your competitors, not all listings, right? When you're doing research, you want to understand and drill down and see what are the listings I'm competing against doing because I want to beat them. You can do this in a friendly way. It doesn't have to be, a super cutthroat business kind of, cold way, right? It can be very nice. You're just trying to outdo them in this game. All right, so I have an example here for you. This example is cars, okay? You are car shopping. Well, you have a green truck, a blue, let's call it a sedan, and a red, like sport car, right? A little coupe. All right, so, but you want to narrow it down because, you don't want all of those. You probably have something in mind. All right, and if you are trying to price something and compete with something, you're not competing with all of these. The person that's looking for a coupe is not looking for a truck. All right, so you filter it down a little bit. Well, I want the coupe. Okay, so now it's a matter of, well, there's red ones and green ones. Okay, well, let's say I'm not competing with green cars. I'm only competing with red cars. All right, well, there you go. Now we filtered it down. Filters are important. Context is everything. Well, in Marmalade, we help you out with this. When you do a keyword search, yes, you're going to get lots of listings back, but they're not all your competition. They're not all ones you need to be concerned about. So we let you filter on material, right? Because as you know, the different types of materials that you build your listings out of for your shop, you might say, well, mine is higher quality. Mine is using like really quality materials. These other ones are using cheap materials. So my price is higher, et cetera, right? There's lots of differences. Well, your customers know that, right? So you should know that too when you're doing your comparisons. Category. Again, maybe you're competing, maybe you do a search that brings back necklaces, earrings, rings, and bracelets. But you don't make bracelets. You only make necklaces, or you're only interested right now in the necklaces that are showing up for that search. Well, perfect. You can filter out the things that don't matter. And that way you're going to get more and more accurate data, the stuff that is really comparable. All right, so another one. You can filter for your listings. If you only want to see your listings that pop up in this search, you can do that. You can do things like check your rank, even check out your combined metrics and stuff like that. Or you can say, I want to see what the numbers look like if I don't include my listings. Maybe your listings are bringing up the averages. Maybe they're bringing them down. Or you just don't want to see them in there because you're focused on what the others are doing right now. Which is great. It's a good way to do things. And again, you can actually control how many listings come back. So how many are you comparing? You can say, I only want to see what's on the first page. I only want to see how well the listings or what the listings are doing that are on the first page so I can figure that out. Or you can say, I want to see the first 2 pages. Or you can go as far as say, I want to see 12 pages. And that's great for things like brainstorming, because you go real deep. All right. Now we can talk about price. When I talk about price, a lot of people are like, okay, well, I use a spreadsheet for that. I put in my cost of materials, I put in my time, a little markup, and then boom, there's my price. Okay. But do you know what price says about your product? Like what it really says about your product to a shopper? Many people don't understand the power of pricing and what it tells people. Well, we have a chart, and I'm going to explain a little bit. We don't have the breakdown that I'm about to show you on here, but we do have a bar chart, and this bar chart is going to show you how listings are priced, kind of all brought together, combined, and it's going to show you, okay, there's X number of listings that are priced at, let's say, $2. And then maybe there's 30 listings that are priced at $30. And then 10 that are priced at $100. It's going to tell you that kind of thing. But I want to explain to you what pricing actually tells someone about your product. Because remember, customers don't know much about you at this point. You know, if you say a big brand like Apple, like you are going to have an impression, whether or not you're a fan or not, you're going to have an impression of what that is. And it tends to be of higher quality when you say something like Apple. So people associate, if something is expensive and it's an Apple product, they're thinking, oh, it's just a high quality product. But if they don't know anything about your product, if Apple changed their name and then walked up with a phone and said, hi, this is the new generic phone. It is $50. It's cheaper than anything else you're going to get in a smartphone. What do you think about it? What is your perception of quality? People are going to say, well, it's cheap. Obviously, the price tells me that. And that's how this works with your product too. They don't know you, you don't have a brand, you're in a handmade marketplace. They're assuming that price tells them what the quality is. So, if you've done your filtering and you found your comparable listings in Marmalade, then this is going to be just showing you the information for the comparable listings. And over here, in the cheap section, if you're lower than average, people are going to assume that you have lower than average quality. If you're average, right, so what they're seeing on the page, let's say it's in the $30 to $50 range, they're going to assume that $30 to $50, well, any listing in there is going to be pretty average quality. And then high quality is going to be anything above that. When they see a higher price, they're going to think, ooh, you know, this person does a higher quality. Maybe they put higher quality materials in there. Maybe they have more years of experience in doing this. They're more professional. Price is going to tell them that. So you've got your cheap, your average, your high quality. What we find a lot is that the advice to go kind of, you know, in this range for most sellers is a great spot to be. Now, unless you're a shop that, you know, is actually doing the lower quality, which is fine. There's always a place for that, right? And there's no shame in being that. And there's no shame in being the high quality. But, you know, make sure you understand that whatever you're going for as your shop, you need to understand how your price is setting that perception. So for the most shops that actually are shooting for that kind of like mid-high average quality, we find that telling them to go right above average there in that area is going to get them the best results. Shoppers perceive them as a quality seller. You know, it sets the tone for the whole transaction. I'm going to hear from them. I'm going to get a high quality product. I'm going to get great customer service and all that fun stuff. And a lot of times when people move from here up to here and they've been selling the same quality product anyway, they actually find they get a lot more sales over here. And that's because when people are going on Etsy and when people are going to buy handmade, they value quality. And so this is actually what they're looking for. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how side-by-side actually saves you time. So right now, we have a keyword comparison tool, and it lets you compare 4 keywords side by side. Our brains work best when we can compare things side by side. You know, so think about it. You know, is this coffee cup, right? I have 3 coffee cups. If I just show you one, how big is this? Is this big? Is that small, medium, or large? I don't know, because I don't have anything to compare it against. Now, even if I start, obviously I've drawn the same size coffee cup. but this one says large, this one says 20 ounce, and this one says grande. You know, they're all the same size, but if I just show you this, and it says large, I don't know, how big is large? How big is your large? How many times have you gone somewhere and you have to look for the cup because it says they sell small, medium, large, but you don't know how large their large is until you see it next to the other ones. Well, keyword comparison makes that easy too, right? Because you see them next to each other, and then you can see, okay, this one has, you know, a great Marmometer rating, so it has a Marmometer rating it. It also has pricing, so you can say, okay, well, is that expensive? Well, it depends. Is it expensive compared to what? To the other keywords that you're going to look at. So you put in keyword, 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 and you can compare the pricing all across. Now, it's also going to show you the top tags that are going to be returned for that keyword. So you do the search and it's going to say, okay, these are the most popular tags. And that's a great way to not just get other ideas, but to say, okay, yeah, I'm onto something because those sound like they could fit for my product too. So you're likely in a search where other products are going to be like yours. You're in the right place. You're in the right party for that matter. And then the top listings. So there you can actually peek at the top listings and see what those are. And again, make sure you're in the right place at the right party. Which brings us over to tracking. So tracking is really important too, right? Why do some people always seem to, you know, be able to be right in just in the right place, just the right time? Well, timing is everything. And while I'm not one known for being punctual, I do understand the importance of timing opportunity in particular windows. And so we have this tool called keyword tracking that is going to follow up to 4 keywords that you put in, and it's going to track it over time over a rolling 12-month period. And there are, of course, 5 different charts. One of them is results. So the results is a measure of competition. You combine that with shops, which it also tracks. So you have how many results with how many different shops competing. Well, if you see these start to take off, well, then you know your competition is starting to take off, right? And again, now you have an idea of, well, let's see, if my sales start slipping or something like that, well, what's changed? Well, I've got a ton of new competitors. So how do I differentiate against them? Price. Maybe you sell something that uses a commodity, like silver or gold, stuff like that. Well, the price of materials do fluctuate. Well, you can see if other listings are starting to adjust to that or not, right? Again, back to market-based pricing. You have a price, and is it staying relatively flat, or is it taking off like results? Important to know. Views and favorites. Again, these are measures of engagement. So let's say your shop is starting to get less views. All right, well, let's take a look at some of these keywords that we think are core to our strategy. What's happening with them? Well, it says they're going up quickly. Well, our views should be going up quickly too. So what's going on? Or if they're going down, then that explains it too. It's like, ooh, better jump into a different keyword. All right. It is easier to ride a wave than to create a wave, right? So when something catches on, that trend is contagious. Wouldn't it be nice to know exactly when that's actually going to happen? That would be great. Well, we have another feature called trending tags. And trending tags updates every day and lets you know what tags are winning on Etsy. These are trending on Etsy. So it shows you the top 10, and they're not all going to be what you want, right? They're not all going to be relevant to your shop. You're not going to jump on all of them. But that's okay, because our little surfer doesn't catch every single wave, right? But trending tags is like that cool hip friend that you have that always seems to know what's in, and is always like, hey, that's not in, or starts using that new catchphrase, and you're like, what does that mean? They're like, oh, you haven't heard it? Well, it's a lot like that, but a lot less annoying, right? It's just it's just pure knowledge, and knowledge is power. So you'll get to choose whether or not you catch this wave or the next one, and that's trending tags. Which brings us to our close here. All right. I need to do 2 things. I need to, number 1, get Marmalade with Entrepreneur. Trust me when I tell you this, we have designed the Entrepreneur plan to be by far the most valuable. We are not new to this. We've been doing this for a long time, so we know. Now let me ask you a question with that. Would you spend 73 cents to have more successful Etsy SEO? Of course you would, because if you want to be successful, of course you are. Well, Marmalade Entrepreneur is about 73 cents per hour. How would I come up with that? Well, if you spend 5 hours a week at around 4.3 weeks per month, that's about 22 hours per month. Now, enter Marmalade. We have an annual plan where you save more money than doing monthly. And it turns out to be about $16 per month. Well, you combine those two numbers and you end up with 73 cents per hour. You are going to spend more time thinking about it than just investing in it. Because I have to tell you, as a small business owner, as a business owner of any size, actually, your time is ultra valuable. It is the most valuable resource that you have. So, it's your move, but, make your choice wisely. Number 2, I need you to go and take the Shop Fitness test. We've created the Shop Fitness test for Marmalade to give you a baseline of where you're at right now. It's going to ask you some questions about inside your shops and your shop stats. And it's going to grade you on things like how well you're doing on Etsy SEO and how your conversion rate is and some other metrics. It's really important. And it's broken down. So yes, you can get an A in this and an F in that. People ask all the time, why is that? Well, it's because you're doing really well in this and really bad in this. Same way you can get an A in science and an F in math, right? It happens. But the important thing is it tells you where your shop is weak and where you can improve and gives you some ideas of how to help. So please do those 2 things. And with a closing thought, I want to leave you with this. All right. Remember that your competition does not want you to do this. They want you to hang out in the forums. They want you to complain that you're not getting sales or you're not as successful as you want to be, right? Because you are their competition. So instead of taking the nap that they want you to, what I want you to do is go out today and do what no one else is willing to do. Because tomorrow, then you're going to have all the things they can't have because they didn't put in that time and effort. So, again, make your choice wisely, but that's what I have for you. And I definitely look forward to hearing from you in Marmalade. And when you're in Marmalade and all that, we've got a nice little question mark that lets you send us messages, or you can even email us at success@marmalade.com, and we can help you out with all sorts of fun stuff. Thanks.
Okay, so now let's get to why we're here, and let's talk about the 5 steps you need to take your shop to the next level, aka how to turn your shop into job quitting material. So let's get started with the 5 steps. You're here because you want to create your Etsy empire, but do you know what will do the exact opposite of that? Creating a shop with no identity or direction. If you choose 5 different niches or sell a hodgepodge of products that don't make any sense together, you will always struggle to make money on Etsy. Your shop needs to have a line of products that clearly go together. You don't have to sell the same thing over and over again, but they do all need to have a common theme. So don't forget, your Etsy shop is not about you and all your different hobbies. It's actually about your customer and what they want. If you don't approach it as a business from your customer's perspective, it's never going to support you. So rather than showcasing all the latest crafts you learned how to do, it's time to narrow your focus and get down to business. You need to become known for something. So step number 2 is to turn yourself and your shop into a true brand. You're a passing moment in a customer's day. They aren't going to remember your shop just because they bought something from you once. You need to make your brand a memorable experience. There are a handful of ways to do this, and Rachel's bonus is going to show you exactly what you need to know to make an impact on your customers for the long run. But believe it or not, planning out your brand and making decisions about how it looks and feels to customers is a huge part of getting remembered. All the big companies have totally mastered this. If you look at certain fonts and colors, you immediately think of certain brands. You can do this for your Etsy shop, and it should be at the top of your to-do list. Step 3. Okay, we're powering through here. Step 3 is something I see all the time. And that's beautiful, amazing shops with absolutely horrible keywords and search terms. They've named their product something super cute that doesn't describe what it is at all. It makes for a great looking shop that just sits completely stagnant, rarely making a sale. The words you use in your titles, tags, and descriptions need to be on point. Not cute, not fun. They need to describe your item exactly as a customer would describe it in a search box. Now, if you don't know how to choose your tags, or you find it really difficult to figure out what people are calling certain items, don't worry. I'm going to offer you guys a special bonus at the end of this webinar that's going to solve this problem for you once and for all. Step 4 is all about looks. It's so important to make sure that your products look amazing. Buyers on Etsy are there because they love a boutique experience, and your items will sell if they look like they belong on display in a unique little shop on the corner alley or something. You can communicate so much to your buyers just by taking a picture. You can communicate an item's scale, size, color, who would use it, whether it can be given as a gift. Really think about what questions your customer might have when they go searching for a product like yours. There are lots of options out there for taking great photos, and don't think for one second that you need a big fancy camera that costs thousands of dollars. When I first opened one of my shops, all my photos were taken with a smartphone, and they got me well over 600 sales. Once again, if you're struggling with product photography, I've got lots of goodies coming up at the end of this that will help you get your photos in order. All right, step number 5. It is time for a marketing funnel. This bad boy is all about automating your sales and exposure so you keep getting ongoing traffic, consistent sales, and new people finding your brand every single day. You do this by finding your customers where they like to hang out online. In many cases, Etsy search is a huge part of this funnel, but don't take social media or online features or blogs or even your own email list for granted here. All these things add up to exposure, and the more places you are online, the more likely you are to get found. Okay, so I just touched on the 5 things that you're going to need to create a shop that's going to help you quit your job. Just to review, those things were: number 1, find your niche. Number 2, create a brand. Number 3, get your tags and titles in order. Make sure that Etsy SEO is important to you. Number 4 is make sure your product photography is on point. And number 5 is get yourself a marketing funnel. And as you can see, after all that going the distance on Etsy is a bit more complicated than just throwing up a product and waiting for the money to roll in. Everything you do needs to be pitch perfect, and I have a program that's going to show you how to get your shop off the ground the right way the first time. So I don't know about you, but when I first started, I did not have time to make all those beginner mistakes and take like 10 years to quit my job. I was ready to do it once and do it right. So what if you could hop in a time machine and kind of talk to your future self so you could, the Etsy mogul version of yourself, and she could tell you exactly how to avoid all of the pitfalls and beginner mistakes. Well, think of this program as your time machine. I want you to get it right the first time. I created this program as if I was talking to myself a year ago so that I could undo all the things I did wrong that held back my income. This is exactly why I'm sharing my new course, Your First 1K on Etsy, with you guys. I want to help Etsy entrepreneurs push their shops to that next level without stressing out over every detail, staying up all night worrying about cash flow, or spending hours and hours on research that only leads to dead ends. So we're going to cover all 5 steps discussed in this presentation, and I'm going to show you how to complete each one step by step with no guesswork involved. I've made it incredibly simple for you to get your shop exactly where it needs to be. Whether you are just starting out or you've been at this for a while now, this program is exactly what you need to take your Etsy shop to the next level, or just to get started on the right foot. You can know that you're making all the right moves because I'm talking to you as someone who's been there, done the research, and found Etsy success with 3 separate shops. So I really want to help you guide your shop to success. And that's because I can tell you from experience, the other side is glorious. I love working until noon and being done for the day. I just can't explain how freeing working on Etsy has been for me, and I really want to share that. So I'm going to guide you through my entire 5-step process and tailor my knowledge and experiences so you can create the perfect strategy for your specific shop. You can take what I'm showing you and mold it into something amazing that works for you. This program is a 2 to 3 hour course that's going to guide you from start to finish when it comes to setting up shop and making your products look irresistible to buyers. As I said, we're going to go through all 5 steps, and I'm literally going to handhold you through exactly how to set everything up. So because you guys are here at the live webinar, I'm not just going to offer you the course, I'm also going to offer you a bunch of really fun freebies. So I've got 3 awesome bonuses just for you guys. The first bonus is Rachel's amazing branding guide, which you will get completely free with this program. It's absolutely amazing. I've seen it. I love it. And you're going to learn how to create a memorable brand that makes sales over and over again. Rachel has really made her brand shine, and she really loves getting into this stuff, and you can really see that in her freebie. It's just an absolute pleasure to do, and it's so much fun. So the second bonus you're going to get absolutely free is a pre-recorded shop critique that I did with a new seller. And it's going to walk you through all the mistakes that new sellers make, so you can just skip that part and just pass go and collect your $200. You do not need to waste your time. The third and final bonus is Richie is offering a 14-day free trial of Marmalade Pro for everyone here today. You can use your trial to ensure your Etsy SEO is on point and sending the right customers to your shop, so you will always have a steady stream of buyers. I can't tell you guys how much I love Marmalade. I use it all the time. I'm probably on it every single day. I really can't express how valuable this tool is, and I'm so glad that Richie came along and invented Marmalade for us. So the offer for the course should be coming up on your screen now. And right now we've got about 5 minutes to answer any questions that anyone has. So I'm going to pick out a few of the comments, and hopefully I can get to each question and figure out how to get them to show up on the screen for you guys.